with our, I think, most frequent guest now. Really thrilled to have you a third time.
Honored.
Etienne, welcome.
Very honored. Thank you.
And we have, of course, Dr. Renato and Dr. Annunziata with us as well. We've had a long day of podcasts, so this is wrapping things up, coming down the home stretch. But we saved one of the best for last. So we're excited to have you here, Etienne. This is, we've spoken a few times and about a lot of the educational issues, some leadership issues, instructional things, COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, and had some really amazing conversations with you. You have done a lot of really wonderful things independent of what we've discussed together. And you have your Rock Your Class book behind you. So tell us a little bit about your book, about you. And I know something interesting just happened to you with Saturday Night Live too. So we'll get to that as a teaser a little later on. But just tell us a little bit about you, your book, and sort of what you're all about so we can get it out to our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book Rock Your Class is essentially a book that I put together. My friend Brian Aspinall from Codebreaker Publishing, he, let's just say, encouraged me for over 2.5 years saying, you got to write a book, you got to write a book. He wanted me to write a book that would share a lot of the stories that I have from my experiences as an educator. And as an educator, I've been blessed to have a little bit different experience than maybe most teachers. I live a Hannah, Montana life. I not only am a K-12 teacher, and I do have various different roles within the school districts that I've worked at, but also the other half of me is I'm an educational performer, which means I'm an educational rock star, if you want to call it that. And so the past 28 continued on years, what I've been doing is I've been full-time teaching and full-time doing that, doing concerts literally all over the world and sold out theaters and arenas and writing music and to help kids learn, basically. And so the idea was to put together a book. And so I finally relented and said, yes, okay, let's do this. Never on my bucket list ever. And what I did with the book is I'm not a writer, so I just spoke. And I think anybody, like you guys are authors, you know that probably the best way to write a book is to be genuine and to just speak. And that's what I did. So I put together an A to Z type tips of teaching K-12, but I started one every letter off with a crazy story from the road or from my classroom. And then I parlayed that into the tip that I was giving. And then I decided to go one step further. What you can see in the book is that there's QR codes all over the place. So if you love a tip that I'm giving, you just swipe the QR code and the lesson plan plops right down in your lap. K-12, no matter what subject you're teaching, it doesn't really matter. And you can just go with it. So that's what I did. And it has been crazy because it was released in April, right after COVID hit. And even up till even like last weekend, when we checked, I got the report, it was still number one in a few of the categories out there on Amazon, which is amazing. 7 months in a row like that. It's crazy. So that's a nutshell how the book got together and a little bit about what the book's about. So.
And I love, I think the title is really catching, and anybody who just looks at that title, it grabs you right away. And a lot of times these books are kind of all fluff and no substance. And I think I love the fact that you are adding those QR codes to give really substantive things to it. And hey, it's not just what I'm saying here. It's not just these stories, but here are some actual things that you can do. Here are the lesson plans involved. That's really a unique feature that you don't see in a lot of books. So kudos to you for including that piece as well.
Sure, that just came from my experience as a teacher, having taught in over 5 different school boards and dozens of schools, and having sat through PD, whether it's a staff meeting or whether it's a district-run PD, where I've sat there going, this actually doesn't apply to me, or the opposite side, this is really exciting. How can I get this? And it's just somebody who had a book, they talked about their book and then they left. And you're like, wait a minute, I got some nuggets out of that. Can I try those nuggets? Like, so that's just what that came out of.
it sounds like you've carried over the engagement piece and everything you do into your book as well, which is fabulous. Besides that, Etienne, and I want to hear questions obviously from Anthony and Rich as well. Besides that engaging and that extra piece, like what sets your book apart from other educational books out there? Why is it number one? Why is it something that sets it apart, you think?
Okay, I'm going to share something with you guys that just happened today. I received a message from a reader, somebody who got the book, and this was really powerful. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this because this really touched me. Well, it was extremely humbling, to be honest with you. Chapter H is called Healthy Teacher Self, or Heal Thy Teacher Self, which is a very important thing for me. Mental health, physical health, emotional health. It's really important, particularly in these times of COVID. And this teacher shared with me that chapter inspired her to make the decision to take a leave of absence.
Mm.
And I mean, at first I was like, wait a minute, did I write something wrong? Like the book is supposed to be about engaging strategies for the students. But no, this reader understood chapter H about taking care of yourself and realized I need to step back. I need to take care of myself, my family. I've got to do that so that I can come back to the classroom and be the best teacher that I possibly can be. So getting feedback like that's the kind of thing that fuels me as a performer and as a teacher. When you get feedback from students and parents and administration, stuff like that. But as far as the book is concerned, that's where it seems to be hitting. It seems to be hitting teachers where they're at right now at this moment, which is interesting because we had to decide whether to release the book once COVID hit, whether we were going to do it or not. But we learned really soon that the book actually hits 3 different avenues. Let's say it has a student engagement piece, the teacher toolbox piece that just fills your teacher toolbox, but also a classroom management piece. And that means online, in class, or hybrid for those teachers, and for those teachers who also feel like they're a little underwater. That's their new classroom situation. But yeah.
Awesome. The depth in some of these writings is really important. It's not just like I said before, what you see on the surface, but if it has those multiple components, that more depth, people I think respond to that. And it sounds like it touched, it connected and touched people at the right time too, when there is this really strong need to figure things out, not just from a technological perspective, but how we need to get them to learn things and how we need to engage kids in a very different area. And it transcends the physical classroom into the online space, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it's been a great experience.
Anthony, Rich?
Yeah, I like that word engagement. Well, that word engagement over the is so-called synonym. Involvement. To me, engagement is deeper than involvement, and I have no empirical proof to point to confirm that. But that's just where I come from on that. And you use that word engagement a lot, so it tells me that, and you certainly can hear it. Investment, maybe that's the best word to think about. The psychic investment, let alone the physical investment, can take a lot out of anybody, especially in these given days. And it's just nice that you've recognized that instinctively, if not overtly, and you've certainly represented it in those QR codes as such. In fact, I was looking. It was a TV program on last night, a brand new series that was using QR codes. So in other words, you held your phone up to the screen, or
that's right,
or another, and they took you somewhere else. And I was thinking about you when I saw that.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, they took the idea from you. I'm not sure.
But, oh yeah, no, completely. Yeah, no. I mean, the whole really point of the book and about my philosophy on student engagement is you best learn when you are what you're learning. So you have to be the learning. And that's what this book is all about. And it's called Rock Your Class because it did grabs experience from my Hannah Montana role as a performer, but also talks about how we are teacher rock stars. And we're the book is not about us standing in front of the class and wowing them and goes, and just singing and stuff like that. No, it is about letting the students know that they're the true rock stars of the class and bringing the best out of them. And the best way to do that is for them to be the learning. And that's what this book A to Z is all about.
It sounds like it could be a response to how you said you behaved as a student yourself.
That's true. I personally never ever dreamed of myself being a teacher. In fact, I swore to God to my friend Shelly in grade 11 that I would never be a teacher. I didn't. Here's the deal. I was a class clown, and I thought I was a helpful class clown. I was the guy at the back of the class that did the voices and gave funny answers to the teacher's questions because I thought I was helping the teacher because the class was really dry. I literally thought I was helping the teacher, not even a word of a lie. And so, but I realized when I did end up becoming a teacher that I think I was behaving that way because the question why was never answered in my mind. Why are we doing this? Why are we learning this? Why are we opening the next chapter? Why are you giving us these questions? Those questions were in my mind. I didn't realize it, but they were. And so as a teacher now, everything I do, the why is always answered, always being discovered, more of that student engagement piece. And, but we do it in a way, in a rock star way, where the students are just involved. You use the word involved. I love that. Involvement.
You know, at the end, you know, these themes of engagement and involvement, and you know, to me, the most effective and meaningful learning is when students are the center of learning, and you talk about that. And in your book, you talk about proofing your teaching and allowing students to question everything.
Yeah.
And that's a first of all, can you tell us a little bit what you mean by proof your teaching?
Basically, it's taking from my experience as a student, right? I expected the teacher to be able to tell me the why.
Right.
And so now as a teacher, I put the why up front. That way nobody really does have to ask, but if they ask, I'd be more than happy to help because everything that I do with whatever subject area, and I've taught math, tech, French, English, history, I've taught so many different subject areas, it doesn't matter. What I do is I make it so real for them and I bring them into the experience to the point where they're going, yeah, this is making me a better person. I mean, how many of us have taught out there and have really appreciated the compliments we've received from students who've talked about less about the subjects that we taught and more about either the way we taught or how we brought them to a different level as a young person into growing up into a young adult type thing. And that's what I'm shooting for. So, yeah.
I mean, that's great. And I think this, first of all, sadly enough, that is not the mainstream of education, which is why I think your book is so important and gratefully become so popular in the hopes that you will and probably are inspiring teachers to be different. But I love the concept of students questioning everything, because that too is a huge paradigm shift for teachers and educators.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have a couple chapters. I have one called Why Oh Why. So I bring that, and then I have the chapter Question Everything. So I seem to always be trying to tug teachers towards that entire idea, because it's not about getting through the curriculum. It's not about getting through the curriculum.
Yeah,
it is about sparking the curiosity to encourage students, first of all, to ask those questions. Anthony, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let's actually start there rather than being random, passive acceptors of whatever comes across their cell phone, right? Because that's what they become. They're almost trained not to ask because they're being told all the time, this is what's popular. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to watch. This is what, so, you know, how do we stop that? And how do we get them? Well, by daring to allow them to ask questions.
That's great. Well, maybe your next venture, Etienne, is to open up your own school based on those incredible philosophical, tenets and your practices over those years. I mean, how great would that be?
Rock your class high.
Rock your class high. Why not? We have high tech high. Why not have rock your class high?
Yeah, definitely.
I think it would be an instant hit. I loved what you said before too, Etienne. You often hear learning should be centered around students if it gets down to that. Rarely does it even get down to that, though. But I love that you said the students are the learning; they are the learning, and it really resonated with me. I want to jump back to what we started off with too, and this happened recently. I know you have a following everywhere, but in Canada, a really big following. But that transcended into recently something with Saturday Night Live. You want to speak to that quickly?
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't I missed the episode, so it was a couple Saturday nights back. And so I was getting all these messages from people saying, did you watch Saturday Night Live? And so I had to go check it out. And so I got a purposeful what people call an Easter egg. We got an Easter egg, which is like a little shout out, a little nudge, a little shot in the arm type thing in a skit that was actually it's called the Montreal skit, so people can find it on YouTube. But it's a little bit they were doing about trying to find Drake, and instead of Drake, they found Etienne, and so it was really kind of cool. But I'm not quite sure, how that all came to be. I have now heard a few things. I know Justin Bieber was the host of that week, and I'm very blessed. Justin Bieber is a fan of my music. He's sang my songs or on national TV. He's done whatever. So that's kind of a known thing. So I was like, wow, I wonder if that was related to Justin. But then apparently, I guess one of the writers of that particular skit is from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And so it perhaps came from her. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, beyond cool. Anybody, I think if you've been mentioned even as an Easter egg on Saturday Night Live, you've made it. Despite you just let's forget all your other accomplishments at the end. If you did that, you've made it.
Yeah, that's what all the years of hard work was for.
Yeah, exactly.
I've reached that pinnacle.
Just to mention on Saturday Night Live. That's
Yeah.
it right there.
That
So yeah, and not everybody knows the affiliation with and what happened with Justin Bieber. You could speak to that, and then we'll give you some closing thoughts, closing comments, but speak to that as well.
Okay, well, that was another thing I did not know about until probably 2 years after it had happened. I was just teaching, and I was about to hand out a quiz to my students, and one of my students said, "Hey, sir, do you know Justin Bieber sings your songs, eh?" And I'm going, "No, he doesn't. Just sit down. We're going to do the quiz." And the girl was like, "No, he does. You should go on YouTube and check it out if you've never seen it." I'm not kidding. And I said, "If Justin Bieber is singing one of my songs on YouTube, you get perfect on this quiz." And then she looked at me and she said, "You can give me perfect. I really don't care, but he does. So you should go check." And so then I did. And then there he was. I guess he sang one of my songs called Avoir deux, a song that helps students learn French, on national TV in France. So that was really super cool. Great. So
that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So any final questions from Anthony or Rich, and then I'll let Etienne. You have the wrap up for this another amazing podcast with you, Anthony. Rich.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, Rich, you go first.
Rich, you're on mute. Rich forgets to unmute at least once each podcast, I think. So we have to.
I make a lot of noises in between. I go, yeah, I'm talking to myself.
He's got to give us $10 in the jar every time. So we're doing, Anthony and I are doing all right. Go ahead, Rich.
We spoke about this last time, I think, Etienne. So I'm just kind of going leadership nerd on you for a little bit for a moment. I'm pretty sure we talked about culture. The culture of a school last time. I'm almost certain that we did. I'm virtually certain of that. And so the cultures of the schools that you attended as a student yourself weren't so, I'm thinking out loud, weren't all that amenable to an Etienne.
Right.
And so now you become the teacher, and now you've been apparently very fortunate to be in a school where it's okay to be Etienne. Mm-hmm. It's okay to use a word that I think is not used often enough in teaching behaviors and teaching strategies. And that would be, you had the right to be creative any way you thought you could be creative to get at what the students needed to have. So,
yeah,
I mean, is that true or so?
It is. It's partly true, and partly a thing where the school districts I've taught at, I kind of didn't have a choice. I just do I just do me, and I just do what I feel is right, and it really does work. And then when people hear about the passion, then they're asking me to share, and everything keeps mushrooming. I mean, here I am on the Education Fix, so there's an example. So you've got Saturday Night Live, you've got Education Fix, things that keep getting better and better here. But I mean, the book itself has already sprung into online courses from the book. I'm working
That's
with
great.
districts. So we're doing PD with districts and stuff like that. So the idea is that it didn't get contained into my classroom, and I am so excited that I'm allowed. That's the key thing. It's so humbling to get to do what I do. Like if you see the documentary or you watch videos of me in concert, I get to be in front of 5,000 people screaming and singing my songs, which is great because then I don't have to. But anyways, at concerts, and I'm allowed to do all that. Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
But it's because I just keep following my passion for inspiring students and getting them excited about learning and being the most that they can be. So,
Anthony?
Just a comment. I think, and just piggybacking off of what you just said, could you imagine if all entertainers and extremely people who are as talented as you are can combine both of those things and make a difference in the world, particularly in your case, making a difference in the world for children. I mean, that's a life worth lived and living, and we often have a lot of heroes in the world that don't do a lot for our society or people or children, but certainly you are, and I think that's a great thing. And just to let you know, I sent a copy of your book to my daughter, who's just started teaching this year, first year teacher in the year of COVID.
yeah.
And I think that it should be required reading for all teachers.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that very, very much. And you can talk to me after this too. I'll definitely get her connected with the online courses too. We'll get her into those because they're pretty powerful. If you guys think that I'm crazy here, you should see through the online courses. Just
That's
like I do different things in the classroom, I do online courses a lot different as well. But no, that was very humbling. But it's funny you say that. I don't want to accept all that praise, but I'm going to tell you that the book does encourage teachers to be themselves. And when you are yourself and you find that passion, I don't care if it's maybe sewing is your big thing. Then you start a club at your school called the so and so's, and just you know what I mean. And you make that passion. So you're teaching history, great. Sew clothes from whatever era that you are currently doing, and have the students wear them and become the historical figures. Because if they become the historical figures, they're going to learn so much more. So my thing is singing. I don't really have that many talents. I don't even consider myself a musician, maybe an entertainer. I think I'm funny, but my students assure me I'm not. So I really just only have that one thing, but I give it my all when I do it. So that's what I would encourage all teachers to do.
Good for you.
Excellent. So Etienne, again, it's a pleasure always having you on. I'm sure we'll have you on again moving forward. Rock your class, rock your class, rock your class. They can get that. We'll put a link in all of the stuff that we're posting out there. It's on Amazon. They can search for it as well. A wonderful, wonderful time with you as always. Go out there, buy the book, check out those online courses. And thank you so much, Etienne. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Al, Anthony, Rich. It's my pleasure every time. So anytime you need a loud guest,